colleague Samuel Nyigmabo is here. Sammy, today what are we speaking about?
This is Friday.
Viewers, if there's anybody who embodies Fridays, it's this gentleman called Samuel Nyigmabo.
I was born on Monday, but I like Fridays. You know why?
Because the holiday.
Tomorrow I'll sleep
and wake up and sleep again.
So it's a lovely Friday morning. We are here to give our viewers ABC Speaks, and as we do on ABC Speaks, we present our opinions on issues from the newsroom point of view, giving you the facts, the figures that you need to know about that particular issue. And today, there's a raging conversation about the presidential jet, whether Ghana should acquire presidential jet, because as stated in the 2026 budget, the government is expecting to purchase 2 presidential jets along with 4 other military aircraft for the Ghana Armed Forces. But this whole new inclusion into the budget has generated a lot of debate inside Parliament and out of Parliament, and we are here to give you what you need to know about this debate. So it is ABC Speaks here on ABC in the morning, and today we are going to be discussing a very delicate conversation, one that has taken political turns. If you look at the conversation about buying a presidential jet, so the question we ask is, should buying a presidential jet be a priority for the government? Because this is not the first time we've heard people calling for us to get a presidential jet. And you see the opposition normally will oppose to that idea and raise questions about whether we have the money to buy it or not. But we are here to give you what you know about this whole conversation, because there's been a lot of hypocrisy about this debate. Both sides of the aisle are being hypocritical. I mean, the NDC, NPP in Parliament and even outside of Parliament have been hypocritical about this whole debate. And we are here to give you what you need to know. So today, the debate has turned on its head. The NDC, now in government, is suddenly confronted with the practical realities they once used to attack the Akufo-Addo administration. Now, the NPP, who are in opposition now, when they were in government between 2017 and 2024, from somewhere 2021, they started the conversation about getting a presidential jet when they were in government. Today, they are opposing the government's quest to acquire 2 new presidential jets. But let's look at what the history says about Ghana's presidential jet. We will look at first how many jets the country has bought over the period, and that takes me to the number of acquisitions that the country has made. So if we could quickly get that on our screens here, we'll look at how many times the country has bought presidential jets. And whenever this jet was bought, what was the conversation like? What was both sides of both sides saying? I mean, those in government and those outside government. So you will look at the presidential jets and those Ghana has bought over the period. The first jet that the country acquired was the DH-125 presidential jet. It was acquired under the Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's regime in 1962. That was Ghana's first presidential jet, bought by Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana's first president and prime minister. Now, after Nkrumah, in somewhere 1976, under the military rule of Ignatius Kutu Echampong, Ghana also bought the presidential jet, which was the Fokker 228 jet. Now, in recent history, in the Fourth Republic, the first presidential jet was bought in 1998 by President Jerry John Rawlings. May he so rest in perfect peace. The late J.J. Rawlings bought Ghana's first jet in the Fourth Republic in 1998. As at that time, the opposition NPP opposed to it. they were raising questions as to why the government was spending huge sums of money to buy this jet, the Gulfstream G3 jet. They raised a lot of questions opposing it as why the government was spending millions of cedis and dollars to buy a presidential jet when we had the Fokker 28. Same way that the NPP is doing today. Whenever they come into government, they suddenly realize that the jet that Ghana has is out or is not fit for purpose. But whenever they move out of government, the jet suddenly becomes fit for purpose, and they oppose it, that the country should continue to use the old jet. So this is the hypocrisy I'm talking about. Both sides of the political divide, the NDC and the NPP, have exhibited some level of hypocrisy when it comes to this debate about presidential jet. After Rawlings, in 2007, President J.A. Kufuor commenced the process to replace the Ghana's presidential jet, to buy a new presidential jet. The current jet that we are using, the Falcon 900EX jet that the country is using now, it was President J.A. Kufuor who started the processes to purchase the jet. He requested it in 2007, but the jet was delivered to the country in 2010. Now, one thing we need to note is that in 2007, when the conversation started that the country needed a presidential jet, the then opposition NDC opposed the idea. They said that the presidential jet was fit for purpose and the country should continue using the Gulfstream G3 jet that was bought in 1998. Kufuor resisted all this opposition, made up his mind that he was going to replace the presidential jet. Because if you listen to some interviews that the former president has had, he said that he and his entourage nearly had an accident. Let's go back to the previous one. Now, he says that he and his entourage nearly had an accident with the presidential jet. That was when he realized that the country needed to retool our presidential jet and get a new one for the safety of the president. The then opposition NDC rejected the idea, opposed it vehemently. But the surprising thing is that when the jet was delivered in 2010, when the NPP administration was out of power, the late president, Evanas Atamils, received this jet, the Falcon 900EX jet. And he didn't just receive it, there was a whole inauguration ceremony to celebrate Ghana's acquisition of a new jet. So this is the hypocrisy I'm talking about. They opposed it when they were in opposition, but when the country acquired the jet in 2010, there was an inaugural ceremony for this particular jet, to welcome the jet, to unveil the jet, something that the opposing in opposition suddenly found that there was the need for Ghana to acquire a new jet. And in fact, the former defense minister then, says that the old jet was not fit for purpose. The G3, the Gulfstream G3 jet was not fit for purpose. Hence, the country needed to replace the jet, and they were happy that they had received the Falcon 900EX. This is where we are, or this is how many jets Ghana has bought in recent times or in its history. And at any point in time, especially in the Fourth Republic, whenever a new jet is bought, there is this debate as to whether it is necessary. And those in government always seems to support the necessity of acquiring a presidential jet. But those out of government, the opposition, always resist it. So it is like when I'm in government, I see the necessity. When I'm outside of government all of a sudden there are other priorities the country must focus on, and the presidential jet is no more a necessity. That's the hypocrisy that the politicians have played over the years. Now, the conversation about acquiring the new jet in started somewhere in 2021 under the Elsewell administration of the NPP. And I want us to look at who started the conversation. Now, at a point in 2020, somewhere from 2020 to 2021, the president, former president then, or former presidents now, and the president then, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, started to use private jet, or started to fly in commercial and private jets. Then the then ranking member on Parliament Foreign Affairs Committee, current Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Nyigmabo, raised the question in Parliament asking why the president was buying or was flying private jets. Now, before we get to his commentary, let's look at what Nitwo said. If you can get that presentation Nitwo did in Parliament. Let's get the quote of Nitwo when he made a presentation in Parliament responding to a question that Okudzeto had asked in or on the floor of Parliament. He was responding to the question, and that was from Nitwo. If we can get the Nitwo's quote, but even if we don't get the Nitwo, this was Okudzeto Ablakwa posted on his Facebook on October 12, 2021. This was Okudzeto Ablakwa posting on his Facebook on October 12, 2021. Now, he says that, keep your Falcon and buy me a new, bigger, more luxurious presidential jet, or I will continue to charter in vulgar opulence the Boeing 737-97YER BBG registered LX Dio at $14,000 an hour, no matter how loud your resistance. And he was referring to the then President Akufo-Addo here. That is the clear message. That is the clear message from President Akufo-Addo to outrage Ghanaians as he continues to contemptuously defy public outcry by his continuous stiff-necked lease of the now famous, distinctively blue and white ultra-luxury executive jet. This was the statement or a Facebook post that the then ranking member on Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament posted when this whole conversation started. He was of the opinion that the country, Ghana, the president, should continue using the Falcon 900 ES jet. He says it was in pristine condition and the president should stop flying in private jet, which I agree that if even our jet, the presidential jet, was not in good condition to be used, we should fly moderate jets that will not come at huge cost to the country. So his opposition was mainly because the president then was flying in what he described as very luxurious flight that was costing the country millions of cedis. And when he placed the question in Parliament and Nitwo came in, let's go to the next one, and Nitwo came in to say that the jet, this is the Nitwo statement. Nitwo says that the capacity of the current Falcon aircraft is far below that of the Fokker 28, which flew very, very important persons of more than 25 passengers during the Champon, Akufo-Addo, Rawlings, and Kufuor eras. Hence, the urgent need for an appropriate aircraft which can better payload in terms of passengers of 70 to 100 people and to carry all their baggage without affecting the performance of the aircraft. This was Nitwo's argument that the Falcon 900 EX jet was not in good condition, and in fact the jet only has 28 passenger seats. So when a president was even using it, we needed to, the entourage, when you say the president is traveling and his entourage, the ministers, if there are many, some of them needed to fly commercial flights. So he says that it was time for the country to purchase a new presidential jet to replace the Falcon. He says it was not fit for purpose. But this was not well received by the then opposition NDC. They said, no, we had other priorities. Our economy was not in good condition. We had schools under trees. We had, in fact, they listed thousands of things that the government could have used the money that we want to use to buy the presidential jet to do. And when the president was flying in private jet, they were doing calculations of how much we spend per each jet, per an hour and per minute and all of that. And that didn't make sense then. So certainly, does it make sense now? Or should it make sense now? That's the question we want to answer. And that's the hypocrisy we are seeking to unearth and unveil and let Ghanaians know that the debate over a presidential jet has turned to a political game, and it is costing the country much than we think, and we should be focusing our attention to having a policy on on the use of presidential jet, or even when we want to use private jet, we should have a deliberate policy for that. We don't have a policy, so everybody does what he likes. Every president comes in and he feels like, okay, I want to use private jet because the Falcon is not working. Currently, we understand that the president is flying commercial, and the jet was returned to the country not long ago. Some few days ago, we understood on Monday that the Falcon had been returned to the country after being sent to France for some repair works to be done on it. It has been returned to their country. And so within the period since the president came in, this administration came in, to now, it means that we've been flying most of the time commercial flights. So we need a policy that will guide our usage of either a private jet or commercial flights, or we need a policy that will help the country acquire a fit-for-purpose presidential jet. Because what is clear from all these political gimmicks that the politicians are playing is that the Falcon jet, the Falcon 900 jet, is not fit for purpose. It's undergone some repair works, yes, but sooner you see that the jet goes back to square one. And the country needs to retool our jet. We need to get the president a fit-for-purpose jet, because the safety of the president should be paramount in our line of things. It doesn't matter. Yes, we understand that we have a lot of developmental needs. We have schools under trees still being a problem on our necks. We have high cost of living, a lot of roads in deplorable state, a lot of developmental needs. But the safety of the president cannot be compromised. So what do we need as a country? Have we defined the parameters? Have we defined what we need in terms of our foreign travels for our president and his entourage? We don't have a policy. Yes, when this whole conversation started, one thing I liked was that the now current foreign affairs minister said that he was going to move a private member's bill in Parliament. I didn't see the futility of that, the fruitfulness of that bill. He was going to lay a private member's bill in Parliament that will seek to restrict the president's use of private jet and provide a guideline as to the foreign travels of the country. So all these debates that we are having, and currently there's the debate after the 2026 budget statement was read that we are having now, it has shadowed the most important thing that we should be discussing, which is what is the way forward? What is the policy to guide the country's use of private jet? Now, let me just because of time, I need to quickly wrap up. But let's listen to the debate that ensued in Parliament. That ensued in Parliament on Wednesday, when the minority discovered that the government was budgeting some $1.2 billion, approximately 13 million Ghana cedis, to acquire 4 aircraft for our Ghana Armed Forces and 2 new presidential jets in a span of about 4 years. When they discovered it and they brought it to the floor of Parliament, let's just give you that snippet of that debate. If my producer can help me with that, just get to listen to what the parliamentarians were arguing about and the response from the majority side of the House. Let's listen to that, and we quickly come to give our conclusion on this.
The military of Ghana already has 3 medium-sized range aircraft, the military one. Mr. Speaker, for the long-range aircraft, Mr. Speaker, it includes heavy bombers like B-2, large transport aircraft. I also laid this so that you can read for your own. Mr. Speaker, it only leaves Ghana. Ghana does not need and cannot operate, and no African country operates a long-range military aircraft. It only leaves us with one option, what we call the VIP aircraft. Mr. Speaker, this is how the VIP aircraft looks like. What in Ghana here we call presidential aircraft. This is how it looks like. And you intend to buy 2 of them. Mr. Speaker, this is how they look like. Mr. Speaker, I say this, I cannot, and let me repeat, I cannot.
Of the budget statement. Mr. Speaker, under item 34 titled Ministry of Defense, Mr. Speaker, where it is captured retooling of the Air Force, where the CAPEX, capital expenditure, is quoted by 2.5 billion cedis. Mr. Speaker, if you multiply that by 4 years, which the finance has indicated in page 136, if you multiply that by 4 years, which the finance has multiplied in the page 184. Mr. Speaker, every year they will provide for it. Mr. Speaker, let me conclude. Mr. Speaker, let me conclude. Mr. Speaker, let me conclude. Mr. Speaker, let me conclude that the statement I made in my contribution to the debate of the budget is on firm grounds, it's on terra firma. They are beginning this year and they are going to continue for 4 years, and this year $2.5 billion has been programmed. If you multiply it by 4, it's $1.2 billion to buy 1 ship, to buy 4 helicopters, and to buy 2 presidential jets. Mr. Speaker, the facts and the data are unimpeachable and unequivocal. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I still stand my grounds that when he said that we are purchasing a presidential jet for $1.2 billion United States dollars, it is not in the records, and your decision that it should be struck off the records is right. If you go and tabulate all planned expenditure on retooling the Air Force, not buying a presidential jet, I will oppose. I will lead this House. I will lead this side. And if they don't support me, I will lead whoever is willing to be led.
So that was a debate in Parliament. You see the MP for Damango, Samuel Nyigmabo, rising to the floor to indicate that the government was spending some $1.2 billion on retooling the Ghana Armed Forces and acquiring 2 presidential jets. Nitu made a similar argument yesterday on the floor, repeated that argument, and he even said that the NDC needs to apologize to Ghanaians for the deceit and the sudden change in their tone, because when he was defense minister and brought this to the floor of parliament, they rejected it. They opposed the idea. But all of a sudden, they have now gone to make it a part of their budget. So he believes that, yes, we need to buy a presidential jet, but the politicking about it needs to stop. And he says that the government should come and explain to Ghanaians why we need a jet and apologize to us. So, and then you see the majority leader say that it was not true, that the president or the budget had made allocation to purchase private jet. But later he came to realize that it was true. And when he did, he said, oh, we will buy it. If it is needed, we have the money, we will buy the presidential jet. The hypocrisy and the politicking of this whole conversation has closed the door, or shadowed what should be the most important thing: getting a foreign travels policy for the country. What we need, or how we want our president to travel. If we need to get a presidential jet, we make funds for it, because the safety of the president cannot be compromised. No two ways about that. So if the Falcon, as we have now, both sides of the house have come to agree that it is not fit for purpose. The NDC said it was fit for purpose in 2020 coming, but they've realized that it is not. The NPP, when they were in opposition, knew that it was not fit for purpose. That's why they wanted to buy a new jet. And they didn't succeed in that. Now they are in opposition. My point is, I understand your opposition members, so sometimes you need to raise concerns, call out the government and all of that. But we all know that the jet as we have now is not fit for purpose. Even if it is fit for purpose, it can only carry 12 people. And we know our president, the nature of our foreign travels, that the president sometimes travels with more than 20, sometimes close to 20 persons. What do we do? So we need a foreign travels policy to guide the usage of either private jet, commercial jet, or even a presidential jet. Let us not make this the usual politicking, and at the end of the day, we go nowhere. We waste money again to be traveling on private jet, and there's no policy to regulate it. Everybody does what it thinks is best or good for them, because the money is there for them to fly at any luxurious flight they want. Let's get the policy down. If you want to go to parliament to get the policy, which is the right way, go to parliament, present a bill, let's develop a policy around our foreign travels and stop this unnecessary politicking. Because all the sides, the two sides, know very well that the Falcon is not fit for purpose. So let's do the honorable thing, the honorable members of parliament, and get a foreign travels policy for our country. It has been ABC Speaks here on ABC in the morning. And Abena, you see what our politicians are doing?
Well, I really agree with you when you say that we need a foreign policy. Yeah,
a foreign travels policy.
Yes, it's very, very important, so that some of these things don't become the cycle. Yeah. Like yesterday, the former defense minister said, if for about 4 years, the now government, then opposition, were against it, opposing the buying of the presidential jet. What has changed within the past 11 months, for which now we need not one, but two. Yeah. And so we need to take a look at these things. It's very, very important. Like you said, and rightly so, the lives of our presidents are very important. We cannot undermine, jeopardize, undermine. We just can't weigh the lives of our presidents on a mean scale. So it's very important that we really, really safeguard the lives of our presidents. And so if the new private jet is going to help, why not? But indeed, there should be a foreign travel policy. We should look at it better. Make sure that when we are going to buy a new jet, it is the best that we can buy, so that we know that
save the country a lot of money.
Yes, exactly.
From the unnecessary.
Because I've really been worried when some of these conversation comes and we talk about the lives of our presidents like it's just normal.
That is why I understand the minority now, because when they brought it to the floor of parliament, the minority then trivialized the whole conversation, made it look like the president then wanted to travel in luxurious flight. That's why he was flying private jets and all of that. But they have now come to realize that the jets as we have now is not fit for. And sometimes it becomes inconvenient to be traveling commercial flights.
But you see, also we reduce the whole conversation to just the presidential jets when we know that they also want to reach to the Ghana Armed Forces, especially
very important.
Very important. The very unfortunate situation that happened. Anytime I think about it, I get really sad. I believe that we will do better, and so maybe after ABC Speaks, we'll also wait to hear what
the authorities,
the duty bearers will say.
All right, so Abna, I hand it over to you.
Well, thank you, Sammy. Thank you so much for bringing us ABC Speaks.